What's her name? I love the girl. Sammy, beautiful young lady, and Dan Cootie come through. And our lodge took a stance 4 years ago, and the first time ever we endorsed a mayoral candidate. We went against a two-term incumbent. It was a pretty strong stance for us to take. We did it with the Fayetteville Firefighters Union as well, because we believed in this man in this room right here, right now. And let me tell you, this guy here, the day we endorsed him, the next morning, Mr. Cootie approached me in the back lot of the police department. Nobody's ever heard the story, not many people outside the police department. He approached me and said, hey, who'd y'all endorse? Who'd y'all endorse? I said, hang on, I'm going to come to your office later on. No, I need to know now. I said, well, you want to know now? We endorsed Lionel Jordan. Oh, he promised you raises. You know what? Lionel came through on those raises. Over the last 4 years, he's given us a 3% increase. Okay? Lionel promised, he didn't promise us jack. All right? We knew once this economy tanked, we didn't endorse this guy for no raises.
The truth. He promised the truth.
This guy here told us, look, I'll keep an open door. I'll be there to help you guys if we can, and I'll be there to support you guys all we can. So Cootie was upset. So then Mr. Jordan gets in office. And upon getting in office right away, he's dealt with the situation. He's got an interim police chief. Greg Tabor at the time was in a situation, and him and Mr. Cootie had an agreement, and Mr. Jordan came to the lodge and said, hey, what do you guys like to do? What are we going to do? We supported Greg Tabor as our chief. And Greg Tabor is our chief today, 4 years later. And Mr. Cootie, Mr. Jordan obviously could have done anything he wanted, but he listened to the troops. Everything was going smooth with the chief. He kept it like it was. So we're at the same place we are. And by the way, the chief is not an FOP member, although chiefs in the past have been. We supported him. We expressed our wishes to the mayor. We appreciate that. Then the ice storm hit. Remember the big ice storm, right? It hit. Let me tell you what, this guy was great. He was out there, led this city, and then the economy trashed out. We were looking at furlough days. Dominick, I remember him telling me, Dominick, we're looking maybe at 12 furlough days. Damn. And 8 furlough days, we're cutting budgets, we're cutting things here and there. Then, no furlough days, we all kept our jobs, we kept the city going. That was great. I'm not going to bore you with a lot of the numbers. But let me tell you a few, the numbers of, this or that. We're cops. We don't care. We're just boots on the ground, ready to handle business. Let me tell you a few things about Lionel Jordan. This guy comes to work every day about 6 a.m. I remember I used to work 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 12-hour days. I'd get to work at 7 a.m. His truck was already there, and his office light was upstairs going. Mr. Cootie, he didn't have to be there at 6. He was an 8 o'clock before guy. He didn't have to be there at 8. He didn't have to be there at 6, but he is. Let me tell you another thing. Bad weather. This man here, bad weather, he calls up the station. Can y'all send me an officer out? The officer goes out there because he's got the tires to get around. He gets in the car with that officer, and he decides if the employees of the city need to go to work or not. He gets out in the car and rides. And he knows, hey, it's not safe. Let's shut down the city. This man here has been alongside our chief on a few death notifications. Okay? He's had to tell some bad news to some folks. And he wanted to be there and support our department and pass that word along. Our officer got shot down here a while back. I heard a great story. They said Lionel was over there on the side of the car. He was jumping like firecrackers were going off on next to him. When our SWAT team hit the house, they had a bunch of bang, boom, boom, and he was out there with the troops. Just because he knew it was important. An officer got shot. He wanted to make sure everything was okay. He was out there wee hours in the morning. Funerals. A couple of our guys in the last 4 years have had kids have died. And this man here has attended both funerals. He didn't attend a funeral with a handshake. He wasn't out there politicking. He was out there to let these guys know that they were appreciated. So that was really important to us. 1 cent sales tax. I was at the courthouse with Steve, the mayor, Rhonda Adams. We had a 1 cent sales tax in this city. And if this city did not pass this sales tax, things were really going to plummet. The ballots were in. He was pacing left and right. I'm like, God darn, he needs to calm down. Pacing back and forth. He's waiting for these ballots to come in. The ballots came in, and when the election head guy, John Burroughs, said it passed, I saw such a sigh of relief on this man's face. And he came over to me. I said, congratulations, Mayor. He said, you know what? The citizens of Fayetteville will continue to get the services they deserve. That was awesome. And I'll close with one story that's really been great. This man here and his daughter told me a couple other variations tonight. I won't get into that. He told me a while back, you know what? You know, as a young officer, I used to work traffic down the 15th and Razorback. As a young officer, I've been a cop for 15 years. And I used to watch Lionel Jordan walk by. And he used to walk by all the time with a man. I didn't know who that man was. And over time, I realized it was Larry West. And he walked to the ball games, and everybody go by. Oh, there's the Alderman. How you doing, Mr. Jordan? With emotions, right? You know really who he was. A couple of years ago, he said, he told me a story that the chancellor invited him to a box. He told me, he said, the chancellor invited me to a box.
You have to tell all these stories.
Yes, I'm telling them now. This is what we have 3 days a week to pull this off, okay? Let me tell you what this man said. He looked at me, as honest as the day is long, and said, you know what? I've been going to these ball games since, who knows? What year was it, Larry? How long have you been going to ball games?
25 years.
25 years he's been going to ball games with Larry West. And he said, you know what? Who's Larry going to sit with at the ball game? I'm not going up to that box with the chancellor. I appreciate the offer. But me and Larry, we're going to walk to that game. We're going to sit up in those nosebleed seats. So here is my mayor and y'all's mayor and the mayor for the city of Fayetteville, who is the best choice. Toast up to Mayor Jordan.
Wow, I don't know how I'm going to
Beat that
top that. I want to thank a few people. I want to thank my wife. Yeah. And, you know, I've learned something in this. When I first came into this office, we came in and it was the budget. There was no way we were going to hit the budget. Wasn't going to happen. And then the economy tanked. And the debt was too high. And then the ice storm. And they said, well, I don't know how we're going to make it without cutting services. And I remember being in a place one time where they cut services. And I remembered how that made me feel. And I said, nobody's going home. Not on my shift. So we determined to keep everybody a job. I said, I've been on the receiving end of a layoff. I don't want anybody to ever experience that. And they're not going to, not while I'm there. So we started making cuts. And it was through people that believed that we could get it done. It took a Lindsay Smith and a Don Marr and a Paul Becker and a city council. And most importantly, it took staff. I took the finances to the fire and police and the non-uniformed employees. I said, here's what we got. Here's what we're going to have to do. And so we made those cuts. We went through that natural disaster, cost the city $6 million. We didn't even have an emergency plan. I said, what do you mean we don't have an emergency plan? And they said, the staff committee said, well, we don't have an emergency plan. And I said, they said, what are we going to do, Mayor? I've been in office 3 weeks. And I said, well, I have a story. And somebody said, I said, I have a kind of a farm story. And they said, oh, super, he has a story. And that would be, and I said, well, there were these 2 buzzards, and one of them looked at the other one and said, patience hell, I'm fixing to kill something. So I said, we are going to make a plan here. And I said, if we have to scratch it out on the hood of a truck. And we sort of kind of did. And we got through it. And then we had the down economy. And then we had the snowstorm, which was 2 feet deep. Then there was the drought and the flood. But through it all, I appreciate, and I have a soft spot for public safety employees, I do. Because I was with them when the little girl was hit by the car in the crosswalk. I was there when the two fire people ran a motorcycle under a big truck. I was there the night that the officer was shot. They just called me and said that the officer had been shot, and I thought, you thank the Lord don't let anything bad happen. I mean, you get there and you do what you can. But that's what's beautiful about this city. I was telling a group of folks the other day, I said when I was a carpenter, Larry and I was talking about this the other night, Larry West's my best friend forever. And I would, as a carpenter, would look at a sidewalk, and I would have a vision of that sidewalk, how it was going to look. And then the proper people would come along. You'd have laborers that would bring steel. You would have plumbers put in conduit. You would have people drive a concrete truck. You'd have people pour the concrete. And then it would take all of us from these various different crafts to pour and form that sidewalk. And when it was done, it would look beautiful. That's kind of the way this city is. I have a vision for this city, and I see where I want this city needs to go. But it's going to take all of us from all the different backgrounds that we have. Fire, police, it's going to take us, it's going to take citizens from all backgrounds, wherever they come from, and all of our different talents that we have. And we put that together. And Lao Tzu says, if we think the world a better place, and we think it to be so, of ourselves, we cannot make it so. But if we think it to be so, then we realize that it is we that will make it so. You see, it's going to be all of us that's going to make it so. That's going to birth that vision and make it into reality, because I can't do it by myself. You see, at the FOP, which I certainly appreciate you all, I just serve. And you see, when we just serve and we take care of one another, we can't do anything but succeed. So I want to be your mayor 4 more years. And I want you to help me and this city be as successful as we possibly can. Okay?
Here,
Thank
here.
you.
Sign-in list at the front. Drop a check in the front. A few of the guys up front, Dallas Brashears and Sean Allen, are handling that. Name tags are there. Food is open. Mojitos, John. Montez with John. John.